What you looking for?
Council workshop meeting Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023, 6 p.m. Bear. Briggs.
Here.
Coulter.
Here.
Heidrich.
Here.
Holtmeyer.
Here.
Patke.
Here.
Reed. Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Will all the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meeting dated December 5th, 2022? Briggs.
Yes.
Coulter.
Yes.
Heidrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes, I did.
Wessels.
Aye. Need an approval.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Holtmeyer, is that correct? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved.
Report of department heads, Communication Department, 911 contract update.
So we do have, I just wanted to go ahead and get you, Jennifer put together some numbers today, updated ones that we had received based upon quotes from Franklin County with two separate lines. One would be for fiber, one would be for T1 lines. I think at this point, based on staff having several meetings on this, extensive review, we are proposed to go ahead and offer that we put this back on the agenda for the second meeting in January for your approval to move forward with the direct connection with AT&T. You can see the lines, you can see the price breakdown that she provided you. If you look at the combined 5-year total, which is the contract we would have with AT&T, your total is $276,232.93. Some stuff that's included with that is that text to 911, FirstNet failover, and trying to think if there's anything else. There's some additional one-time charges. Jennifer's broken this down much simpler than what we've been dealing with over the last couple of months, so she's done you a tremendous favor tonight, trust me. And then you have over here on the right, if we would stay and go ahead and contract then with the county, this would be what we would have for the 5-year terms. You'd be looking at, what you need to look at is the bottom two sets of numbers at the very bottom. You have with the T1 lines, you've got a difference of $53,803.91, more than what the proposal is that we're receiving directly from AT&T. And the fiber lines, just a smidgen less, it's $53,680.40 over the cost of what, again, what we would have direct with AT&T. So these are the latest and greatest numbers that we've had. We'd like to go ahead and, like I said earlier, we've discussed the merits of keeping this, or putting this with direct ties to St. Louis, basically, for these lines, rather than having to go then from Union to Washington, back to Union, et cetera, which is what we've had over since 1993, I believe. And so, but as just to get everybody back up to speed of why we're discussing this, back in October, the County Commission decided to go ahead and do away with the contract that had been in place since 1993 with regards to paying for this service of these connection lines as well as maintenance, and so left us with a situation where we had to go ahead and look at some options of what we wanted to do in the meantime. So that's why we have the sets of numbers that we have in front of you tonight.
Darren, the last time we talked about this, and I'm sorry, I missed the meeting two weeks ago.
Yes.
But we were, to go on our own was going to be about $30,000 or $40,000 more. Now
Yes.
we're in
We've
the
looked
black
at these
better.
numbers. The contract numbers have come back better.
Jennifer just did a better job of adding in.
She's that good. She's that
Is
good.
there anything else that has changed other than that?
No.
All kidding aside, sorry.
No, I mean, like I said, but this includes all the features that we would like to go ahead and have, especially the text to 911 and the FirstNet failover. I think those are two important things that we'd like to see added that you don't have today. You do not have those services currently.
Right. And if we do go with our own, is Franklin County still a backup for us? Rail system here.
You want to explain that, one of you?
I mean, we're
Either
not
one.
burning our bridge with them, and they're still gonna be our backup.
To be determined. The way the system operates architecturally, you basically call what failover number you want it to go to. Headquarters right now has radios, it has computers, and it has phones already established as a backup site. Theoretically.
Our firehouse.
Our headquarters station
Right.
on 14th, we could theoretically be our own. We could take it to Franklin County, we could take it to Pacific. You get to choose that how you want to operate that backup site.
And that doesn't affect this number here at all, that's just a backup.
You just tell them what number you want to forward to should this fail.
Right.
Can I just clarify for me, what is VPN?
Virtual private network,
Private network?
virtual private network, it's basically a fiber line.
And T1?
That is a copper phone line that has been slowly being phased out by AT&T for some time. If I can, I'll get you a little history of what's going on. So right now, there is a T1 line from AT&T out of Webster Groves to Union, Missouri. From Union, there's a T1 line to Washington. That is the communication circuit that is there. When you whoever just dialed 911 on Penn Street here a little bit ago to get the fire department, that cell tower went and routed through Webster Groves, through Franklin County, Union to here in milliseconds. It's just the way the phone system works. Franklin County is what they call a host system. What the proposal that we're going with would, and right now, if the line is cut between Washington and Union, Franklin County would pick up the 911 calls. If the line is cut between Union and Webster Groves, it goes to Jefferson County. What we're proposing is instead of using Franklin County as a host site, we would use one of AT&T's hosts, which is the same host St. Louis City uses. So from an infrastructure perspective, if the biggest municipality in the area is using it, it works. It also reduces your total cost. We looked at doing a host system first, here being our own host, and AT&T said, well, we could sell you that, but it's for the money, there's no reason for you to do that. And explain kind of the host and distribution methodology that AT&T has in place for the 911 system. And so looking at it, we would go from Kirkwood directly to Washington with a fiber line. That fiber line is monitored by AT&T. So if that line is cut, broke, whatever, AT&T knows about it immediately. And also simultaneously, if that line were cut, it would go automatically on the FirstNet network, which is the same as a cellular network. What would happen to the caller is they would be disconnected and would automatically ring back at communications, at Washington Communications, for them to pick the phone right back up and pick the call up right where they left off. We don't have any of that right now. So that's where the architecture change and the ability that it's actually a much better, much more reliable, and much more robust system than what we're seeing presently. And the numbers that Jennifer put together, we had to add in those features because that was not part of the quotation given by AT&T. So we took the numbers that we received, those numbers, and just brought them into the Franklin County quote as well.
And this comes out, this 5-year total of $276,000. So 50-some a year. How does that compare to our costs the last 5 years?
Well, our cost the last 5 years have been zero due to the fact that Franklin County having that contract in place that we've had since 1993. And they've paid for the cost for the maintenance of those lines.
So
There's an example.
That's a bigger discussion with regards to, like I said, and I think we've raised that with you before, is the fact that you still have people paying landlines and paying that tax. And I don't know what, in the past, you could say, well, at least we were getting something back out of it. They were paying that maintenance. As of October, that's no longer the case.
That maintenance cost is roughly $35,000 a year.
There's an upgrade every 5 years, though, or something.
That's where we're at the refresh.
Yeah.
So this is the case if we choose to go with this, we move forward. This is obviously the best service for our citizens. And then we can revisit the tax we pay to them and get nothing back from at a later time.
Correct.
Well, in my eyes, before we make any final decisions, I would like to have our county representatives here and put everything on the table in front of everybody right here, so we're not seeing an amount from them on an email, and we're seeing an amount from us. I'd rather have it all on the table right in front of everybody, so if anybody has any questions, I mean, that's what we pay our county officials for. They ought to,
We do have the exact contract that AT&T provided to Franklin County with all of these numbers. And then we have our actual contract from through AT&T if we were to go ours on our own.
Yeah, so Mark, when we were at the last meeting with the county, they provided us their quotation. This quotation includes the Sullivan, Washington, and Pacific breakouts as well as county. And then we have our quotation directly from AT&T. So we could actually overlap what was in their contract from AT&T and our contract and do a line-by-line comparison. And that's where we figured out what we had in our contract and quotation that county did not.
because I don't know if I'm the only one up here, I don't think I am, is getting a bunch of information after we have a meeting from county representatives saying, oh, all those numbers are wrong, they're, you know, this is wrong, you know, this is the true number, yada, yada, yada. So I would just rather have a town hall meeting right here and have it all out on the table, and they can be present and we can be present.
It's already on the table. That's what it is.
It's fine, Joe, I'm making you know, an idea for us to be open-minded here and to listen to them, because I'm hearing different things from them. I know you want to go with whatever they say all the time. You always, yeah, well, if they said it, that's what it needs to be. Well, you know, maybe we ought to have everybody here. I mean, again. Okay, well, that's good.
Have you spoken to the commissioners, Mark? And they,
I'm sure you have too, Jeff, haven't you?
I have not.
Brinker hasn't sent you anything?
You sent me an email with the original numbers.
So, I mean, I'm just saying what, every time we have a meeting, they, it's like the next day or that night when I get home, boom, 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 they're lying, you know. This is
We're not,
this, so
look, I will.
Darren, and I'm not saying
No,
we
it's
are.
fine. It's
but
fine.
I would rather just, I
There's
would just
a
rather nip
reason-
it and.
There's a
have
reason why the
everybody right here.
county wants you to go ahead. They probably stand to gain on their contract with AT&T if Pacific and Washington went along and did the numbers with them. They would have a savings.
There's a perceived discount.
And that's,
And I'm not
Another
doubting,
reason.
I'm not
I know,
doubting any
that's
numbers,
fine.
I'm not doubting what you guys have there, Timmy, I'm not, you know, I'm just saying, it'd be nice if everybody was sitting right here, and then you can go, okay, now, show us how we're getting false information here. Show me right here, right now.
And that's why that's why we requested specifically the Franklin County upgrade. This is
Well,
data-
I want to hear it out of
This is
I
from
want to
them.
hear it right out of the mouth of the,
Well, they can come
You
to the
know.
next meeting.
Yeah,
well, that's what I'm
Get
saying,
'em here.
I'd like to ask them
Yeah,
to,
we're not gonna vote till next meeting, right?
correct.
Well, I guess back to my question, Mark, is this your request, or was this the county commissioner's request to you that they want to be here?
no, sir.
No.
This is just my request, because I'm tired of getting this, he said, she said. I just want it all right here on the table, so then when our presiding commissioner says something, well, this is, well, show me right here, you know, or one of our commissioners, well, show me where, you know, our staff is messing up here. Show us where our numbers are. Show me right now. I'm from Missouri, you know, show me state. That's all I'm making recommendation. Joe, that's good. That's good that you just, I'm just coming up with a recommendation.
Hopefully that one here would go. Guess you can invite them, and if they show up, they show up, and if they don't,
Right.
you know,
Right.
we can't wait for them.
No, I would just like for us to contact them and see if we can all meet. Just a
we did meet
recommendation.
on, the week before the 27th, so it would have been the 20th. We met with the Commissioner Henson, Abe Cook, the Emergency Management Director, Jeff Titter, the Communications Director, his assistant, which forgive me, I don't remember her name. Sam, yeah. Chief Hamilton from the Union Fire Protection District, officials from Sullivan Pacific, Mayor Hagedorn was there. Darren was unable to attend because of illness. Jennifer, Chief Sigourney, and myself attended a meeting jointly with the county at the county, and that's when we got these numbers specifically from the county. for 911.
So that was the only commissioner that was present?
Yes, sir.
The other two weren't there?
No.
Must not be
I
very
have had
important.
conversations. Todd Bolin has called me in the past.
I've had several conversations with Todd.
Yeah.
Here again, just a recommendation.
Understand.
I'm tired of getting
And
that.
to
As
exactly
soon as we
your-
get done with these meetings, I'm just tired of getting that information.
To exactly to your point, Mark, that was the same issue that we had, is that the numbers were never jiving. So Jennifer said, can you give us your quote, just like AT&T gave us our quote? And they were very gracious and gave it to us. So we were able to extract the numbers exactly out of the quotation and see what it actually included to know where we stood and what features and benefits were part of that and what were not.
And again, I'm not doubting anybody, and I appreciate all your hard work. I just,
Mark, and I think to add to that, I think unfortunately it was published in the newspaper, a one-sided story as far as the pricing went there. You know, our call times were not correct, their call times were not correct, all that stuff, you know what I mean? And I think that leads to the he said, she said part of that also. It was that original story, if I'm not mistaken, so.
yeah, myself, I just would like to throw it all on the table and find out right out of the horse's mouth right here in front of us, you know? But if none of you don't agree, that's great. That's just something I would like to do, and
Well, if it goes to vote next meeting, then it's a matter of commissioners, you know, basically, if you don't like the fact that we're gonna go on our own, come defend yourselves, right?
It's a public meeting.
Right.
right.
We're trying to be as transparent as we can, giving you the exact numbers to make it as fair of a comparison as we can actually absolutely provide you.
And bottom line, just like Jeff said, I want the very best that we can even give our residents, our constituents. That's all I want, so. At the end of the day, that's all I want. And I know that's what you guys want, so just.
Other discussion? Okay.
We just need a motion to send it on to council for the next meeting on the 18th. Is our next meeting? 19th?
So moved.
17th, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion.
I heard Mark make a so moved. Any second?
I'll second.
Second by Chad. All those in favor? Say
Aye.
Okay. Move it. Go ahead, Sherry.
Thanks, guys.
Parks Department proposed marijuana tax.
I believe, yes, you got some members here from the park board that wanted to go ahead and address real quickly, and then we can try to talk about any issues that are with that. I asked Mark to attend our workshop tonight for any clarification of what would have to be on the ballot, but I'll let Sparky make his comments first.
I will. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Sparky Stuckenschneider. I'm a co-chair of the Parks and Recreation Board. At the December 19th council meeting, a few of us park board members spoke in support of the tax on the sale of marijuana. As a member and co-chairman of the Parks Recreation Board, we are here once again to support a tax on marijuana and asking the council to vote in favor of putting this tax on the ballot this April. Also, if the tax is approved by the council and put on the ballot, we are requesting the majority of the income from the tax, if approved by the voters, be added to the Parks and Recreation operating budget. Thank you very much for your consideration. We appreciate it. We can sure use it.
Thank you, Sparky.
You do have, I believe, we would have to have an ordinance on the agenda at next meeting on the 19th? 17th. I'm getting the dates all wrong tonight. 17th. And so you would have to, because we have to get that over to county clerk to go ahead and put that on the April election. The language can go ahead and be as simple as, Mark, I think you gave me a kind of an example of one.
Right. I sent Darren a draft of one a couple of weeks ago, which basically just says that the money can be used for general revenue purposes. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't designate them for parks or whatever other use you think is appropriate when you do your budget. But my recommendation would be that you do not include language in the ballot measure that that money can only be used for parks purposes or half has to go for parks. The problem with that is if you get down the road and you determine you no longer need that money for that specified purpose, you can't change the use without going back to the voters and having them approve an amendment to the ballot. So if you leave it as general revenue, you can always budget that money in your budget when you approve the budget every year. But in my view, it should be sort of a generic ballot proposition.
Can you campaign it as a parks tax?
Yeah, you can.
Just not, can't be on the ballot.
If you put
If
it
you
on the
wanted to-
ballot and the voters approve it, it has to go there. Whether it's needed in the future or not, it has to go there.
Joe, ask your question again.
He's saying, I think if your question is, if you put it in the generic language, can you still go out there and campaign
Put it
in
the-
favor of
If you
parks?
put it in the ballot language that says, shall the city of Washington impose a sales tax of 3% on the recreational sale of marijuana and designate 1.5% of that amount strictly for parks and recreation purposes, that's all you can use it for forever, unless the voters change it. But you can put it on the ballot that says, shall the city of Washington impose a sales tax of 3% on the recreational sale of marijuana to be used for general revenue purposes, then you can go and afterwards, or even during the campaign, and say, if this passes, it's our intention, we're gonna fund, half of this is gonna go to parks, half is gonna go somewhere else.
That was my question.
Yeah.
As you can campaign it as a parks tax.
Yes.
But keep the language, like you just said, the.
Yes, correct.
I would also propose, and I just on the record, I know I've talked with a couple of you, the mayor and I have had a couple of conversations. Another purpose of the tax, what we could use, and I'm not saying it has to be half, whatever, but a portion of that we would like to go ahead and see for our dispatching. You have Prop P funds that you currently have now with the sales tax dedicated for your officers' salaries, and we supplement that with those funds that we receive from the county. We'd also like to see if we could use a portion of that to go ahead and help with dispatching for the salaries for those to keep them competitive.
Well, if we pass what we just talked about previous to this, we're gonna need salaries to be competitive or above Franklin County for the obvious reasons.
Correct.
So that's the exact intent, no doubt.
Do we have any idea yet how many vendors?
We currently have one dispensary in town, and, but in the future, you may certainly have more.
Do we know if they have applied for whatever that licensure is for recreational use?
Yes, it's their intention.
They have, okay.
So is there a tax on it now, or is this gonna be,
No, there is not a tax on it now.
so it's not an additional tax, it is
Nope.
a tax?
A tax.
Okay.
And it's just on the use of recreational marijuana. And so, right now, you currently have one dispensary, you could have 4 in the future, et cetera.
Similar to a
Similar to what?
liquor tax?
Correct.
And 3% is the max.
Yes.
And it is also comparable, or exactly comparable, to all the other municipalities around us at this time. Union, St. Clair, Pacific have all each put,
I think St. Clair was going to put it on the ballot. That's the only one that I was
that's what I've
aware
read,
of.
that other
I
municipalities.
have not talked to Steve at Pacific.
So we're not
to see
above
if
and
they can.
beyond anything in around our area. It's
As a matter of fact, I think
Status quo.
Mark and I were having a conversation, the county may have it as well.
Is the 3% in addition to our sales tax?
Yes.
Yes.
And who came up with the 3%? How did that number
That
come?
was part of the constitutional amendment that got approved back in November.
I think it's up to.
The state's sales tax is 6%, but you're limited to 3%.
Do you know what the projections are on the sales tax?
I can give you a range because we have to be careful with regards to the fact that we only have one dispensary in town. But I would sit there and say that approximate, you could get, in the first year or two, you could have anywhere between 100 to 200,000.
Further discussion?
Well, I was just wondering, Sparky, or the Parks Board, is what Mr. Piontek's telling us, does that make sense to you folks? That, yeah, that we really, might not be a good idea to put it on the ballot, but
No,
we could commit, right?
You have to put it on.
Put it on the ballot, but
not
not
the
for that
parks.
language.
Not to say on the ballot that it's all for the parks.
Correct.
Okay?
You need a motion to move this to council, sir?
I think we do.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Coulter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Sherry?
Do any other department heads have anything they want to talk about?
Any other department heads? Mary?
I just have one item that I wanted to share. Enterprise Fleet Management gave us this. It's a map of Washington, Missouri, and it's made out of wood, so I was just going to pass this around
Ah, pretty nice.
as a Christmas gift, so.
Who made that?
Enterprise, well, it's made by Frontier Design, so it's made in Alaska, but Enterprise Fleet Management is the one that gave it to us.
Cool. Thank you.
There you have it.
There's nothing else, I just need a motion to.
I make a motion.
Motion by Hopmeyer,
Second.
second by Patke to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. For a minute,
Till 7.
till 7.
You have no executive session items? Oh, sorry.
Giving you your birthday present, or your Christmas present a little late.
Intricate, I didn't realize. Council package.
Really freaking accurate,
The things are still on.
That's nice. Just give us our trucks.
They're still on.
too. Yeah.
We should have the commissioners.
Gotta display that somewhere.
Yeah, we'll put it somewhere.
And I wish you would have been here. Nobody around. I wish you would have been here. Nobody
Did we have Christmas?
thought it was a good idea.
I like those numbers.
How'd the game go?
What's that?
Last night, right?
We got
Won by 30 last Friday.
Good.
Yeah, they're good. Stuff to do that.
Second quarter.
So they took a recess till tomorrow at noon.
You tell them that I'm not.
I'd like to be a fly on the wall where they're discussing.
I'm a
Yes, yes. What they're giving away there.
I hope so.
Hey, John,
Okay.
do you have anything?
I don't.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023, 7 p.m. Bear? Briggs?
Here.
Coulter?
Here.
Heidrich?
Here.
Holtmeyer?
Here.
Patke?
Here.
Reed?
Hello.
Wessels?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated December 19th, 2022? Briggs?
Yes.
Coulter?
Yes.
Heidrich?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
Patke?
Yes.
Reed?
Aye.
Wessels?
Aye.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Heidrich for approval of the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Approval for minutes is done.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have the final payment request for 2022 Bush Creek Greenway Project and a liquor license approval for Totino Cucina LLC doing business as Aldo's Pizza.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Patke, second by Heidrich. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consent is done and approved. Sherry?
Citizens' comments?
Anybody in the yes?
Got a few.
Jonathan Hanna, 5807 Studeman Road, Washington, Missouri, Ward 3. Just wanted to say a few words about the potential ordinance for panhandling. Look forward to hearing at some point from the city attorney over specific issues about the ordinance. I read the Missourian article about the potential ordinance. But I wanted to talk about three potential issues, and I'm going to be succinct here. First, my reading of Supreme Court precedent is that any potential ordinance needs to be narrowly tailored to specific real safety issues for it to pass potential constitutional review against free speech claims and other constitutional issues. I know the city has looked at other municipalities in the past for ordinance wording, and I'm sure they're doing that here. One may be narrowly worded that Washington may be able to use and pass constitutional muster. Second, another issue that may come up is sovereign citizens. These are at least slightly on the rise. Sovereign citizens, these are individuals that do not recognize, in some form, they don't recognize government authority over themselves. And they like to stand around on public property, sidewalks, and kind of goad police into interactions and posting those on YouTube. I would think that a homeless individual whom I work with on a regular basis, they might adopt some of the sovereign citizen type of mentality because they've had at least some of them, if not many of them, from their perspective, have had negative interactions with the police. So they'll start using wording like Darrell Brooks did in the recent trial of not recognizing them as being over them and things like that. And I just think having an ordinance like this may produce some unnecessary interactions between police and individuals that may not be mentally competent, nor is it really a situation that we should have the police enter into if they're just standing there with a sign asking for money. The third issue, I think, is probably the most important. I wrote a letter to the editor of the Missourian about the homeless issue, and I think we have to have two main prongs: access and accountability. The ordinance that's being proposed is the accountability part. I totally understand that some individuals don't want to see homeless individuals standing there with a sign. And I've even had some homeless individuals tell me that some of those individuals are not using that money for necessarily legal means. But I would encourage the city council to also remember access to services, which we do have some of that now, but we don't have, I think, what we need yet. And that's coming, which we know because just the special permit was just passed recently. So I would encourage the city council to at least think about, before implementing any kind of ordinance about panhandling, to wait until those services are up and going, so police can be like, okay, are you accessing the services? And then also at the same time, however their ordinance is worded, hey, you can't be doing this. So, and have those two things happening at the same time. I think that's having good compassion, and I think it's adhering to the Christian worldview, but also at the same time, I think it's just part of common sense. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Yeah. By chance, are you a business owner?
No, I'm a homeowner here.
No, do you own a business, though, by
No, I
chance?
do not own a business, no.
Well, some of this is coming from business owners, and you might want to kind of get in their shoes. I mean, if you owned a business and you have some people hanging out in front of your business
Yeah.
with signs, and that runs business off, and they need that. It's bad enough you have Amazon and all this other stuff, storefronts are leaving, so they're trying to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think of in their shoes also.
Yeah, may I offer a response to that?
Excuse me?
May I offer a
Yes, sir.
response to that?
Yes, sir.
And that's why I want to do access and accountability. I think they both have to happen at the same time. I think they have to be integrated. I don't think we can have one without the other. I don't think we should just be giving handouts to people or just letting them do mostly what they want to do. But I think when the police, as an example, I think when the police interact with them, they can be like, okay, these services are available for you, to find a job, to do transitional employment, to come up to the Harmony House and learn how to do a work day and things like that. But then also at the same time, you can't be standing here with this sign. But it has to be narrowly tailored. That's how I'm reading the Supreme Court precedent on this, because it's a constitutional issue. They're standing there with a sign and exchanging money, and the city attorney can correct me on this, exchanging money is a form of speech. And I think the city would want to be careful how they word it, but then also at the same time, I do empathize with the business owners. My family ran a business growing up. I remember being at my dad and mom's shop all the time. I'm sure my dad and mom would question if someone was standing in high in Clark Street in Mexico, Missouri, and standing there with a sign. They would probably ask questions. But if they're standing on public property, though, that's a prime area for exchanging of ideas. And that's where our free speech comes into. But that can be controlled in the time, place, and manner. Time, place, and manner. I think that's been many times that's been cited as Supreme Court precedent that can be curtailed in some way, but it has to be narrowly tailored. And so that's why I wanted to mention that here from a citizen's point of view, but also at the same time look forward to seeing what the city attorney has to say about it. But I empathize with those businesses.
And I don't have, and I'm sorry, we need to look out for everybody in our community, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I will tell you this, that our police department is top-notch, and they've offered help to many. I don't have the numbers, many, and they've declined it.
Yeah.
So,
And have they declined it because it was coming from a police officer?
why would they decline it? Why would it make any difference
Because they
from a
have
police
a
officer?
potentially a negative point of reference, either real or not, by interacting with a police officer. So that's something also to consider. Because the homeless shelter, as I understand it, is supposed to have social workers. They're supposed to go out and talk with these individuals, is what I've, Annie Foxcan and some others that I've talked with, that's supposed to be in the plan. If my understanding of that is wrong, I apologize, but,
Well,
I know they've offered services.
and I'll apologize for our officers, but I know we have a few new ones, but I know most all of them. And I've heard them talk to homeless and people that were derelict and sitting on parking lots for days on end and stuff like that, and they've treated them with the utmost respect. So I will tell you that I've witnessed it personal, so.
Oh, yeah, and I totally affirm that. Yeah, I'm just saying that some of these individuals that I've talked with, that I transport on 5 days a week, many of them have had, like I said, real or not, negative interactions from their point of view. It might not be based on reality, but that's where they're coming from. And so a social worker or a pastor or something like that might get through to them better versus one of our honorable law enforcement individuals. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Other public comments?
My name's Phil Marquardt. I'm requesting the city council to allow me to use a four-wheeler ATV as my mode of transportation. I have attempted to learn how to use hand controls in a normal vehicle, and due to both my legs having prosthetics now, along with my size alone, hand controls are not user-friendly to me. The way the controls are set up on the four-wheeler is safer. They're set up more like a motorcycle hand control. The vehicle I would like to use has all lights, blinkers, and a horn, which makes it street legal by definition in some states. With my disabilities and my size, a side-by-side or an electric scooter used at retail stores and hand controls in my truck are simply not safe. I desperately want my independence and freedom. I'm asking to have a special use permit under the current ordinance. This may fall under the guidelines of the Americans with Disabilities Act. I believe that the ADA mandates that all people with disabilities should be able to be self-sufficient, and I promise I'm too old and too disabled to be a menace on the roads with this vehicle. I'm not going to do stunts and ride the vehicle in unsafe manners, and I appreciate your consideration.
Phil,
Thank
what's
you,
your
Phil.
address? What's your address?
533 East 11th.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chief, is this, do you know if
Thanks,
this is on the agenda for the next traffic?
Yes.
It is?
It
Okay.
is. Yep.
And the only thing I will add, I think Officer Grissom did a lot of research, I think, when we passed the ordinances that we did, because there was a lot of state laws that separate those types of vehicles individually.
Very
So
specific.
It's very specific, so like I said, but it's good that it's before the committee this Friday, so.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to that meeting on Friday.
Okay, that'd be good.
Very good. Very good.
We'll be there.
It's right here.
Or citizens' comments?
Mark, real quick on that topic, out of the traffic committee, let's hypothetically say that, that there wasn't some overriding concern. What is the mechanism, I guess, to allow for, is that an ordinance modification? Is that a variance? What is that mechanism?
Would have to change the existing ordinance because right now it says no ATVs, period, on any city streets. State law contains some provisions that we could adopt, which would allow for use of ATVs for, it's, I don't know the exact language, but it says something like you can use an ATV for a special purpose upon issuance of a permit by the city.
Okay.
So there are some modifications that would have to be made to the code.
I just want to make sure we had a productive meeting on Friday, knowing that going into the meeting.
Other discussion, guys? Other citizen comments? Okay, go ahead, Sherry.
Mayor's report?
Wow,
Moving quick.
moving really quick. We're in the dark ages, folks. I hate January and February, other than today. It was wonderful. You know, we're not going to see the sun for a while, and I told this to my staff today. You don't get enough sunshine, it can be kind of depressing. So if you know of someone or see someone who looks like they're having a bad day, please say something or need some help. That's all I got.
City Administrator's report?
I have no report. Just as a reminder, though, we do have, our next meeting is Tuesday, the 17th, due to the MLK holiday. And for those that are new on the council as well, we have, it'll be the Tuesday after President's Day in February. I don't have the calendar right in front of me, but,
It'll be the 21st.
I don't know.
21st.
21st, thank
I
you.
see.
So it'd be 21st rather than February 20th.
Okay.
Council comments?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a comment.
Insult then.
So, do we have anything, one of my first questions is, do we have anything in our bylaws, ordinance, this and that, with shots underground? Now we have this other fiber optics coming in and digging up all of our yards and this and that, which I know there's an easement, but what do we hold them accountable for tearing up our streets and our curbs? Because our curbs are getting tore up bad, ripped up, scarred up, our streets are getting scarred up. What are we doing to hold them accountable to fix these problems?
When we passed an ordinance prior to Gateway Fiber coming in town, maybe 2 months ago, we used to have a procedure called the street excavation permit procedure, basically. It was set by code. What that did was, it was a bonding procedure that if you were to tear up any hard surface, curb and gutter, sidewalks, asphalt roads, those things, that you were bonded with the city. If the work was done, for example, if you cut into a city street to put a boring pit in, we have to allow you to do that. You have access to that right of way. We have a bond, though. They have to repair that. The street department does the final asphalt repair at a future date, okay? So you're bonded. They pay for that, though, part of that bond process, okay? The loophole that was in there that I was concerned about is that was only to hard surface.
Correct.
So if you were running parallel behind the back of a curb in green space into green space, because technically that's not necessarily an individual's yard, that's still city right-of-way.
I understand.
That they were not being, put the grass back in a reasonable fashion. So what we did was we transitioned to what's called a right-of-way permit now. So when an applicant comes in, Gateway is typically the applicant, or Shots may be the applicant, depending on who it is, they get bonded with the city based upon a certain dollar amount criteria. We then issue the permit. They're allowed then to do the work. We hold that bond until it's closed out, until we're happy with what was left. Now, as far as scars and specific things, it's very possible that we don't catch everything. I believe that because I do not have an inspector, I do not have the man hours available to have somebody there with them hand in hand every second of the day. So scarring of curb and gutter, those payments, those are case by case. I'd have to know where that's at to go look at what that is.
But we do have a
question-
bond that's in place that we can
Correct.
still hold for that. so.
Right, so, sorry, one way to get there, but the question then becomes is, what do you do with asphalt pavement if it is scarred up? No different than if a trailer hits or something. mean, is milling the entire surface and creating two joints a bigger problem? Or is accepting some of those things part of construction one of the solutions? So how do we go about fixing something like that on an asphalt surface when it's done? There is no great scenario for that.
Well, I know in my industry, when I'm doing excavation, and if I'm scarring up curbs like I've seen them do in Ward 2, shots all over, tearing the heck out of them.
Recently, or was
Yep.
it prior to?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to verify that.
Yes, sir. Signs put back in that were ripped out, signs are bent up. I'll have to replace that, and I don't see that getting done.
And it's very possible that I'm not aware of the specific situation, so I may just have to get with you to figure out where these things are at. Because again, I don't have individuals that are following with them hand in hand. Now, all those bonds are still in place. They've not been released of those at this time. So city code states that they have 6 months, that we can hold that up to 6 months, and I intend to do that. So I need a little feedback from everybody where those things
This
are
is,
at.
and this could lead a little later than 6 months because it was all this Ameren. They're
Yeah,
doing all this
yeah.
stuff for Ameren. Now,
We never had a procedure in place prior to then, though. That's a little bit of maybe some gray area.
John, I'm telling you, I can see where they have their outriggers down and they're pulling over in the street and pulling themselves over and the teeth of the bucket are in the street.
And I'll just have to look into that. And,
You
but
know,
back
what
to,
what about when we're boring and how many times we've been up Washington Heights repairing sewer lines? Our staff.
well, not a bunch.
2 or 3
Probably-
times, I know.
Probably more. There's been,
At least
yeah,
3
probably
times.
4 to 5.
Right,
this
so
point.
are they reimbursing us for our overtime?
They are not, and that's something that I'm working to come up with, that we should not be fixing those
Right.
sewer lines.
Right.
But understand what that does. If we don't fix those sewer lines, then your citizens don't get their sewer lines repaired.
I understand it, well, we should be back charging.
I don't
No way
disagree
we
with
shouldn't
that.
be back charging that.
And this is part of the growing pains or not having the procedures in place when this started, is we had nothing in place to solve this, and it was moving at such a lightning speed that we have to catch up and identify those and catch up to modify as necessary.
Wow, we've never had nothing in place all these years.
Nope.
Wow.
No.
Street excavation permits, all you.
That's it.
all that you-
Right, but I mean, as far as getting reimbursed, as
Yep.
far as anything getting. All right, number 2 is, and I think, I see Wayne out there. I had some calls on the caboose that we painted. And I was just curious, is that finished product? Is the caboose finished product?
No. He can elaborate.
Good evening. No, the caboose is not a finished product and likely won't be finished until the spring. I will take, I guess, part of the blame on this. I pushed them. I was really hoping, I really wanted to get it painted and spruced up for Christmas. And it was I think, first council meeting in December when they were last here putting what was then final coat of paint on there. And I met them down there about 4:30 in between getting off work and this council meeting. And there, I saw a couple spots on the east end that were a little light, and the guy was going to come back the next day and spray them. But it was getting dark, and it was an overcast day to begin with, so really wanted to see it once it was light. Then a few days passed, and one of my staff members said something about the paint job down there, so I stopped in and looked at it, and I guess that night we had a pretty heavy dew. And that caused the some of the paint to run and did different weird things with the paint, and including there's a few rust spots on there now. And so I've met with them twice now, once just last week in preparation for this warm spell that we're in. I was really hoping that we might be able to get it painted. And after him coming out again, he goes, I just don't, because then we were expecting the big rain that we just had. He's like, I don't think we want to push it anymore. He goes, I'm really concerned about the coldness of the metal now, because we were coming out of that -7 weather that we had, that the metal was still cold even though the air temperature was warm. So we haven't did final payment or anything like that yet. They're still coming out in the spring. He wants a week of about 50-degree temps, day and at least 50 at night, and then whatever during the day above 50, and they'll come out and repaint it. And then they have to put the logos on it too, which have to be painted on there.
Now, in that contract, aren't they also supposed to do a coat on the inside of that too, Wayne?
No, originally, we were hoping, I bid it out that way, but we had to cut costs, and when I brought that to council, that was cut. That was saved us like, I think about $2,000 or $3,000, I think.
All right. Well, I was hoping it wasn't a finished product, because
No, it's
it
not.
looks rough.
So, yeah, looks a little better than it did, but it's getting there.
All right, thank you.
Heard a motion over there.
Go
Well,
ahead, Jeff.
Since everybody knows I don't text, I didn't ignore all your New Year's greetings, thank you, and congratulations to our grandpas and everything else. So it's good.
Thank you. Motion on the floor by Patke. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. All those in favor
did
to adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
We are